today's video, I'm gonna show you how to make an authentic Philadelphia cheesesteak. First things first, let's talk meat. The best of the best is ribeye. So today, I have a large bone-in ribeye that I will shave myself. Start to pat it down to remove excess moisture and remove the bone. Now place this steak onto a rack and into the freezer for 1 hour. We want the outer part of this steak to firm up so that we can easily cut it into thin strips. Oh, and you'll need a really sharp knife. Now place the knife flat with the steak and dig the blade in at the most shallow angle. You're going to move the knife back and forth with a strong grip, slicing thin pieces at a time. Now here's a better angle to watch my technique. Also, after you get through halfway of the steak, you can go back and refreeze the steak for 1 hour to firm up the meat again. It's way easier when the meat is very cold. And if you're wondering, of course this cheesesteak can be done with other cuts, but it won't be that authentic Philly cheesesteak if it isn't ribeye. Ribeye has the best balance between fat, tenderness, and chew. Now for the onions, we use yellow onions, which are sweet and maintain a firm texture when cooking. The way we cut it in Philly is a nice 1-inch dice. So what you're gonna do, cut it in half and then make 3 slits angling towards the core. And from there, you're gonna square it off to cut those 1-inch dices. Now check this out. I'm making a no fuss recipe for you to cook these onions to perfection. For around 1.5 cups of diced onions, I will place them in the sauce pot with 1/4 of a cup of water, 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I placed this all into a cold pan on medium heat. Then I waited only 15 minutes until the onions look like this. What happens is that the onions sweat from the water and reduce to create a fond on the bottom of the pan. Trust me, it's not burnt. This is flavor. All you have to do is add a tablespoon of water and scrape all of that goodness from the bottom, and you will see how these immediately transform to be perfectly caramelized. Now for our cheese whiz, I took around 5 to 6 slices of American cheese, placed them into that Pyrex container with around 2 to 3 tablespoons of water, placed it into the microwave for 30 to 40 seconds, and then I whisked it up to get a nice and light cheese fondue, which represents that Philadelphia cheese whiz. Now we're ready to make this ultimate cheesesteak. Start off with a pan on high heat. Make sure you have some salt and pepper ready and also a bottle of water. This is going to help you deglaze that pan later. Now with this beautiful sliced up ribeye meat, you're going to place a little bit of vegetable oil in your pan and start to saute only on one side. You're going to immediately season the meat before you give it a flip. And it's optional, but you can also shred up that meat and break it down some more and get it nice and chopped up. I cook the meat until it's medium temperature, and then I deglaze with a little bit of water to lift up those brown bits from the bottom of the pan. Now, little do people know, but the Philly trick is to actually steam the meat. It's the secret. Searing the meat will actually dry the meat out too much. So what we do is sear on one side and then start to steam to make it nice and juicy. If you want a full recipe blog, go check out my website at juliansisifo.com. I'm going to put up this ultimate Philly cheesesteak guide with the recipe for the cheese whiz, the onions, the ratio, the meat, the bread, and everything. Now this roll right here is that South Philly style new school roll loaded up with sesame seeds and cornmeal on the bottom. If you want that full recipe video tutorial, I have it right here. And for a more balanced sandwich between bread and filling, scoop out that dough inside. It's going to help you load your toppings in there. Now build your sandwich with that juicy, warm ribeye meat, hand thin sliced, and that cheese whiz drizzle is for me the ultimate cheesesteak. I don't like to really chop up the American cheese or the cheese inside. I like that drizzle of whiz. And these onions are caramelized to perfection. If you add onions and Philly onto your cheesesteak sandwich, it's called a whiz wit. So the next time you're in Philly and order this sandwich, you say, "Let me get a whiz wit, you." It's a beautiful thing, waiting at the counter at these cheesesteak shops, watching those cheesesteaks being made, those mountains of onions, the steam from the steak. Actually, Philly doesn't even toast the rolls. The bread is either made fresh, and sometimes they actually steam it on top of that meat. But my rolls are insane. There's that crunch, that popcorn aroma with that toasted cornmeal and the roasted and tender sesame seeds. It's a flavor bomb. So there it is, that homemade roll, that shaved ribeye, that cheese whiz, and those sauteed onions. This is that Philly cheesesteak. And comment down below, who makes your favorite cheesesteak? And if you haven't visited Philly, you gotta go. I'll see you guys in the next video.